First contact's deception. The quantum sensors aboard the EDF Sentinel lit up like a Christmas tree. Captain Sarah Chen watched as the massive vessels emerged from the void, their obsidian hulls absorbing starlight rather than reflecting it. She'd spent 15 years in the Earth Defense Force, but nothing in her experience had prepared her for this moment. 6 vessels, Captain. Lieutenant Park reported from his station, each one approximately 3 kilometers in length. Energy signatures are massive. His voice wavered slightly as he processed the readings. The aliens had arrived exactly as they promised in their first transmission 3 months ago. The Nexus Empire, they called themselves, claiming to be peaceful traders interested in establishing diplomatic relations with Earth. Yet something about their approach formation nagged at Sarah's tactical instincts. Dr. Rodriguez, she called to her science officer, analyzed their hull composition. Something's not right about how they're absorbing light. The bridge crew worked in focused silence as the alien vessels drew closer to the designated meeting point just beyond lunar orbit. Earth's combined fleet of 30 ships, the best humanity could muster, looked like toys compared to these behemoths. Captain, Rodriguez's voice carried an edge of urgency. Their hull structure, it's not just absorbing light. It's actively bending space around them. The material properties suggest it could be used as a weapon. Sarah's hands tightened on her command chair. Elaborate. The hull could theoretically focus and redirect energy on a quantum level. If weaponized, he left the implications hanging. Sarah opened a channel to Fleet Command. Admiral Hassan, requesting permission to move to defensive positions. Something about these ships doesn't match their diplomatic claims. Denied, Captain Chen. We can't risk offending our first alien contact based on hunches. Sarah bit back her frustration. Politics. Always politics. But she hadn't survived 3 Martian insurgency campaigns by ignoring her instincts. Tucker, she addressed her communications officer. Begin passive scanning of all frequencies. Record everything. The massive alien vessels came to a stop, arranged in what appeared to be a standard diplomatic formation. To most observers, it would look perfectly normal. But Sarah had spent countless hours studying historical naval battles. The Nexus ships were positioned to maximize weapons coverage while maintaining overlapping shield protection. Receiving transmission, Tucker announced. Text and audio. A smooth, almost melodious voice filled the bridge. Greetings, representatives of Earth. I am High Commander Vexthor of the Nexus Empire. We come bearing gifts of knowledge and technology. Sarah watched as her crew relaxed slightly at the friendly tone. She didn't. Tucker, run a deep analysis on that transmission. Compare it to their first contact message from 3 months ago. Minutes passed as pleasantries were exchanged between the Admiral and the alien commander. Sarah used the time to quietly order her crew to power up additional sensors, keeping them just below active levels. Captain, Tucker's whispered urgently, I found something. The linguistic pattern in their transmission. It's designed to induce minor theta wave changes in human brains. They're trying to make us more suggestible. Sarah's blood ran cold. She'd seen this before, psychological warfare tactics used by the Martian separatists. But this was far more sophisticated. New energy readings, Park's voice cut through the bridge. Their hulls are beginning to. Sarah didn't wait for him to finish. All hands, battle stations. Admiral Hassan, there. The first shot didn't come from their weapons. Instead, the alien ship's hull suddenly flared with blinding light, sending precisely modulated quantum pulses that would have overloaded every human ship's sensors, if Sarah hadn't already ordered her crew to modify their sensor frequencies based on Rodriguez's analysis. Return fire, Sarah ordered, even as she watched half the Earth fleet go dark, their systems overwhelmed. Focus on the leftmost vessel. Their formation has a weak point where they thought our ships would be blind. The Sentinel's railguns roared to life, launching hypervelocity rounds at speeds approaching 1% of light speed. The aliens, expecting their sensor attack to have crippled all human ships, had left a gap in their defenses. Through the chaos of battle, Sarah opened a general broadcast channel. "This is Captain Chen to all Earth forces. They're using quantum-shifted energy fields. Adjust your sensors to compensate. Don't let them blind us again." The Nexus Empire had expected an easy conquest, assuming humanity would be helpless against their advanced technology. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that could adapt, that could think creatively, even when outgunned. As Sarah watched her warnings spread through the fleet and more Earth ships recover from the initial attack, she allowed herself a grim smile. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest weapon, not their technology, but their ability to analyze, adapt, and overcome. The battle for Earth had begun, and humanity's first lesson to the galaxy would be a costly one for their would-be conquerors. Never mistake technological superiority for tactical invincibility. Project Phoenix Rising. Deep within the asteroid belt, hidden in the hollowed-out core of Ceres, humanity's response to the Nexus threat took shape. 3 months had passed since Captain Chen's warning had saved Earth's fleet from complete destruction. Now she stood before a viewport, watching teams of engineers swarm over the hull of humanity's newest warship. The ECS Phoenix looked nothing like traditional human vessels. Its hull was comprised of overlapping plates that seemed to flow like liquid metal, incorporating elements reverse-engineered from salvaged Nexus technology. But its true power lay in systems that were uniquely human in design. "The quantum fold drive is revolutionary," Dr. Maya Patil explained, her holographic display showing the ship's internal systems. "We didn't try to copy their technology. We looked at how they manipulated space and developed our own approach." Sarah studied the schematics, noting how the drive system differed from conventional designs. "You're using the space-time distortions as both defense and propulsion." "Exactly." Maya's eyes lit up with pride. "The Nexus uses brute force to bend space. We're doing something more elegant. Think of it like martial arts, using the enemy's strength against them." Colonel James Wu, the project's military liaison, stepped forward. "The real breakthrough came from studying how you survived that first battle, Captain. Your intuitive response to their quantum attacks gave us the key." Sarah remembered that day vividly, the split-second decision to modify their sensors, the desperate gamble that had saved her ship and crew. "You adapted that defensive technique. We built an entire combat philosophy around it," James confirmed. "The Phoenix doesn't just resist their quantum attacks, it absorbs them, redirects them. Every shot they fire makes us stronger." A technician approached with a tablet, showing new test results. Maya's expression grew even more excited. "The latest simulations are even better than we hoped. The quantum fold drive doesn't just move the ship, it can create localized pockets of altered spacetime." Translation for those of us who aren't quantum physicists, Sarah asked. James grinned. "It means we can turn their own tactical advantages into weaknesses. Their huge ships rely on precise spatial coordinates for their weapons. We can distort the space around us, make their targeting solutions worthless." Sarah walked closer to the viewport, studying the Phoenix's unusual design. "How soon can it be ready?" 2 weeks for final system integration," Maya replied. "But there's something else you should know, Captain." She hesitated, glancing at James. "We want you to command her," James said simply. "Your experience with their tactics, combined with your ability to think creatively under pressure, you're the perfect choice." Sarah didn't respond immediately. Her hand unconsciously moved to the scar on her neck, a reminder of that first battle. "The Nexus has been quiet since their initial attack failed, but our long-range sensors show they're gathering a massive fleet just beyond Pluto's orbit. They're adapting their strategy," James agreed. "Next time, they won't underestimate us. They'll come with overwhelming force." "Good," Sarah said, surprising them both. "Because we're going to show them that humanity doesn't just adapt. We evolve. We take what defeats us and turn it into strength." Maya pulled up another display, showing the Phoenix's weapon systems. "We've incorporated some other innovations based on your battle reports. The quantum resonance cannons can match the frequency of their hull defenses, creating devastating feedback loops. And this, Sarah pointed to an unusual configuration in the engine section. That's what we call the shadow drive, James explained. It doesn't just bend light around the ship, it bends probability itself. In testing, automated targeting systems simply refuse to acknowledge the ship's existence. Sarah nodded slowly, a plan already forming in her mind. They'll expect us to be defensive, to huddle around Earth and wait for their attack. Instead, we're going to take the fight to them. The Phoenix isn't just a warship, Maya added quietly. It's a message. Humanity won't be conquered or colonized. We learn, we adapt, and we overcome. As if in response to her words, the Phoenix's hull shifted slightly, the metallic plates realigning themselves in a hypnotic pattern. Sarah watched the play of light across its surface, remembering how the Nexus ships had looked that first day. Beautiful, terrifying, seemingly invincible. "Begin crew selection," she ordered. "I want the best minds we have. People who can think creatively, who aren't bound by conventional tactical doctrine. The Nexus thinks they understand human warfare based on their first attack. We're going to show them how wrong they are." James nodded, already pulling up personnel files. "What's our first target?" Sarah's expression hardened. "Their forward staging area in the Kuiper Belt. If they want to learn about human warfare, let's start by teaching them about the preemptive strike." As the engineering teams continued their work, the Phoenix seemed to pulse with potential energy, like a predator preparing to strike. In 2 weeks, the galaxy would learn a crucial lesson about humanity. Give us time to prepare, and we become more dangerous than anyone could imagine. The Battle of Saturn's Rings. The rings of Saturn glittered like diamond dust against the void. Captain Sarah Chen watched from the Phoenix's bridge as ice particles drifted past, each one a potential signal reflector that could give away their position. But those same particles were key to her plan. "Nexus battle group approaching," Lieutenant Park reported, his voice steady despite the tension. 5 capital ships, 12 support vessels. They're sweeping the rings with quantum scanners. Sarah nodded, unsurprised. After their strike against the Kuiper Belt staging area had destroyed 3 of their largest ships, the Nexus had become more cautious. Status of the quantum fold drive. "Ready," Maya responded from her engineering station. "The ice particles are providing perfect camouflage for our spacetime distortions. They can't distinguish our signatures from the natural gravitational effects of the rings." The massive Nexus vessels moved with precision through space, their obsidian hulls now decorated with pulsing red energy lines. Adaptations made after their previous encounters with human forces. They were learning, evolving their tactics. But so were we. "Begin Operation Avalanche," Sarah ordered. "Tactical, target the support ships first. They're the ones coordinating their quantum field networks." The Phoenix's systems hummed to life, but not with the conventional energy signatures of human or Nexus vessels. Instead, the ship seemed to ripple, its quantum fold drive creating microscopic distortions in the fabric of spacetime. "They're scanning this sector," Park warned. "Quantum pulses getting stronger." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Let them scan. Maya, initiate the resonance cascade." Throughout Saturn's rings, thousands of specially modified ice particles began to vibrate at specific frequencies. Each one was too small to detect individually. But together, they created a complex interference pattern that played havoc with Nexus sensors. "Enemy ships are responding," Park reported. "They're switching to standard optical scanning. Wait, multiple energy spikes. They're firing blindly into the rings." Massive energy beams cut through space, vaporizing clouds of ice particles. But the Phoenix wasn't where their sensors suggested. Sarah had positioned her ship using what she called orbital parallax, using Saturn's gravity well and the ring particles to create false images. "Now," Sarah commanded, "full quantum fold activation. Hit their support ships with everything we have." The Phoenix seemed to multiply, spatial distortions creating dozens of ghost images throughout the rings. Each one was both real and unreal, existing in a quantum superposition that made targeting impossible. The Nexus ships fired frantically, their sophisticated targeting systems confused by the impossible readings. Maya's voice was triumphant, quantum resonance at maximum. Their coordination network is failing. The Phoenix's main weapons fired, not energy beams or projectiles, but concentrated bursts of distorted spacetime. Where they struck, Nexus shields didn't just fail. They imploded, the energy used to power them turned inward by the quantum manipulation. 3 support ships disabled. Park called out. Their quantum field network is collapsing. Main battle group is losing coherence. The Nexus capital ships, their tactical advantage suddenly stripped away, began to break formation. Without their support ships' coordination, their sophisticated quantum weapons were far less effective. They're trying to regroup, Sarah observed. Tactical. Prepare second wave. Maya, how's our power curve? Better than expected, Maya replied. The energy they're putting out trying to find us. We're absorbing it through the quantum fold drive. We could keep this up for hours. Sarah leaned forward in her command chair. We won't need hours. Execute attack pattern Delta 7. Let's show them why you don't challenge humanity in our own solar system. The Phoenix dove through Saturn's rings, ice particles swirling in its wake. Each particle had been precisely positioned over the past week, creating what appeared to be natural formations, but were actually carefully planned kill zones. Multiple quantum detonations, Park announced as the trap was sprung. Rain particles are creating a chain reaction. Their shields can't compensate for the frequency shifts. The space around Saturn's rings erupted in a dazzling display as thousands of ice particles, energized by both Nexus weapons fire and the Phoenix's quantum manipulations, created a web of destructive interference patterns. Nexus ships found their own energy weapons reflected back at them from 1,000 different angles. Their flagship is powering up its main drive, Maya reported. They're trying to escape. Not this time, Sarah said firmly. Activate the shadow drive. Full power to quantum resonance cannons. Let's make sure they remember this lesson. The Phoenix seemed to fade from existence, becoming a shadow among shadows. When it reappeared, it was inside the Nexus flagship's defensive perimeter. At this range, even their advanced shields couldn't stop what came next. The quantum resonance cannons fired, not attempting to overpower the Nexus ship's defenses, but instead matching their frequency perfectly. The result was catastrophic. The flagship's own shield energy turned inward, creating a cascade failure that ripped the massive vessel apart from the inside. As the remaining Nexus ships fled in disarray, Sarah opened a broadcast channel. This is Captain Chen of the ECS Phoenix to all Nexus forces. Let this serve as a reminder. Humanity's space isn't just defended by our weapons, but by our minds. Every time you attack us, we learn. Every weapon you use against us becomes our tool. Remember Saturn's rings. Remember what happens when you underestimate human ingenuity. The bridge crew watched as the Nexus vessels disappeared into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind their destroyed flagship and support ships as testament to humanity's determination. Breaking the siege. The Earth's orbital space had become a graveyard of derelict ships and debris. The Nexus Empire's response to their defeat at Saturn had been swift and brutal. They had committed their entire regional fleet to blockading humanity's homeworld. 100 massive warships formed a sphere around Earth, their quantum weapons ready to vaporize anything that tried to break through. From the bridge of the Phoenix, now hidden in the shadow of Neptune, Sarah studied the tactical display with growing concern. They've adapted their formations based on what we did at Saturn, she noted. No more support ships to target. They've integrated all their quantum field networks into the capital ships. And that's not all, Maya added, her holographic displays showing energy readings from the blockade. They've modified their shield frequencies, Our quantum resonance attacks won't work the same way twice. Colonel Wu's face appeared on a communication screen, transmitted from Sarah's base. Our ground-based defenses can hold them off if they try to invade, but we can't break that blockade. Even the Phoenix can't take on 100 ships at once. Sarah's expression remained calm, but her mind was racing through possibilities. The Nexus had finally learned to respect humanity's capabilities, which meant they were now fighting smart instead of arrogant. "What about the civilians?" she asked quietly. "Food supplies are holding for now," Wu replied. "But in 3 months," he didn't need to finish the sentence. Earth's population was too large to sustain without interplanetary trade. "Show me the blockade pattern again," Sarah requested. Maya brought up a detailed 3D model, showing how the Nexus ships had positioned themselves in overlapping fields of fire. "Look at this," Maya pointed to energy fluctuations in their shield network. "They're using so much power maintaining that formation that they have to synchronize their shield frequencies. It's the only way to prevent their own weapons from damaging each other." Sarah leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "That synchronization, it's their weakness. But we'll only get one shot at this." She turned to her tactical officer. "Park, what if we didn't try to break through their formation at all?" Park looked confused. "Captain, their entire strategy assumes we need to get past them," Sarah explained. "But what if we made them break their own blockade?" Understanding dawned in Maya's eyes. "The quantum fold drive. We could use it to create a cascading resonance effect. Not to attack their ships directly, but to disrupt their synchronization." "Exactly." Sarah's fingers flew over her console, drawing up a battle plan. "If we can force even a small group of their ships to adjust their shield frequencies, it'll create a chain reaction. They'll either have to break formation or risk destroying each other." "It's risky," Wu warned. "You'll have to get close enough to affect their quantum fields, and you won't have the ring particles to hide behind this time." "Then we'll give them something else to look at," Sarah replied. She opened a channel to Earth's remaining defense fleet. "This is Captain Chen. I need volunteers for a diversionary attack. It'll be dangerous, but it's our chance to break this siege." The responses came in immediately. Every surviving Earth ship volunteered. Sarah felt a surge of pride in humanity's courage, even in the face of overwhelming odds. "Maya, how quickly can you modify the shadow drive to work in reverse?" "Reverse?" Maya blinked, then smiled as she caught on. "Instead of making us invisible, you want to create false sensor readings. We could appear to be in multiple places at once, but more convincingly than before." "Not just false readings," Sarah corrected. "I want you to make it look like we've figured out how to clone the Phoenix. Give them 5 or 6 identical quantum signatures to track." The next 12 hours were a blur of preparation. Earth's remaining ships were positioned carefully, ready to launch what would appear to be a desperate, all-out attack. The Phoenix's systems were pushed to their limits, its quantum fold drive modified to create multiple convincing phantom images. "Diversionary fleet in position," Park reported. "Earth ships are ready to launch on your mark." Sarah took a deep breath. "Begin Operation Ghost Dance. All ships, attack pattern Omega. Make it look good. We need them to think this is our last, desperate attempt to break out." The Earth fleet charged forward, their weapons blazing against the Nexus blockade. As expected, the alien ships held their formation, their superior firepower systematically picking off the attacking vessels. "Energy spike," Park called out. "They're detecting multiple Phoenix signatures. They're taking the bait." On the tactical display, Sarah watched as the Nexus fleet reacted to the apparent threat of 6 Phoenix-class vessels attacking from different vectors. Their perfectly synchronized formation began to show signs of strain as ships adjusted their positions to deal with the phantom threats. "Now," Sarah ordered, "full power to the quantum fold drive. Target their synchronization frequencies." The real Phoenix, hidden until now, activated its drive at maximum power, But instead of trying to breach their formation, it created a complex pattern of quantum interference, disrupting the careful balance of their shield network. The effect was catastrophic. As predicted, the Nexus ships began to lose synchronization. Their overlapping fields of fire became dangerous to their own vessels. Shields flickered and failed as friendly fire became impossible to avoid. "Their formation is breaking," Park shouted triumphantly. Multiple ships withdrawing to avoid quantum feedback. Gaps appeared in the blockade as Nexus ships were forced to move apart, their carefully planned strategy collapsing in the face of humanity's unconventional tactics. "All Earth vessels, this is Captain Chen," Sarah broadcast. "The enemy formation is compromised. Begin emergency supply runs through the gaps. We'll keep them occupied." As Earth ships rushed through the broken blockade carrying vital supplies, Sarah allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Nexus had built their strategy on the assumption that humanity would try to match them ship for ship, strength for strength. Instead, she had turned their own tactical doctrine against them. "Message from the Nexus flagship," Park reported. They're requesting a parley." Sarah smiled grimly. "Tell them we'll be happy to discuss terms after every Earth ship has completed its supply run. Let's make sure they understand that blockading Earth comes with a price." Humanity's stand. The observation deck of the Phoenix offered a perfect view of the diplomatic meeting site, a neutral location in cislunar space. Sarah watched as the massive Nexus flagship approached, its once pristine hull now bearing scars from recent battles. Beside it, the Phoenix looked almost delicate, but appearances had proven deceiving before. "Their quantum emissions are stable," Maya reported from her station. "No signs of weapon charging or shield harmonics. I think they're actually here to talk." Sarah nodded, but kept the Phoenix's systems at ready status. The last 6 months had taught her never to underestimate the Nexus Empire's capacity for deception. Yet something felt different this time. "Receiving transmission," Park announced. "High Commander Vexthor requests permission to come aboard. Alone." This was unexpected. Nexus leaders never exposed themselves to potential capture. "Scan their shuttle for quantum anomalies. I don't want any surprises." The shuttle that departed the Nexus flagship was small and obviously unarmed. Another break from their usual protocols. Sarah met Vexthor in the Phoenix's conference room, noting how the alien commander's iridescent scales had dulled since their first encounter. "Captain Chen." Vexthor's translated voice carried none of its former arrogance. "Your species continues to surprise us." "That's because you keep underestimating us," Sarah replied evenly. "Even after everything that's happened, you still don't understand humanity." On the contrary, Vexthor gestured to a data crystal it had brought. "We understand now all too well. May I show you something?" Sarah nodded, and Maya activated their secure holographic system. The crystal projected a series of images, battles from the past 6 months, but from the Nexus perspective. "Here," Vexthor indicated, "your first defense against our sensor attack. Within minutes, you adapted technology you barely understood. And here, at Saturn, you turned simple ice particles into a weapon that nullified our quantum advantage. Each time we developed a new strategy, you didn't just counter it, you turned it into your own strength. That's what humans do," Sarah stated simply. "We adapt. We learn. We overcome." "Yes," Vexthor's translated voice carried an odd tone, something like respect mixed with fear. "We believed our quantum technology made us invincible. We had conquered 12 species before encountering Earth, each one falling to our superior weapons. But none of them did what humanity did." The hologram showed the Phoenix's battle maneuvers, the innovative ways they had used the quantum fold drive. "You didn't just copy our technology. You understood it, improved it, used it in ways we never imagined possible. Our scientists are still trying to comprehend how you turned our own shield harmonics against us. Because you approached the technology like conquerors," Maya spoke up from her station. "We approached it like explorers, like students trying to understand the underlying principles." Vexthor turned its multifaceted eyes toward Sarah. The Empire sent me to subjugate Earth. Instead, I find myself here to offer an alliance. Sarah's expression remained neutral, but her mind raced with implications. An alliance? We have detected something approaching from intergalactic space, Vexthor explained, bringing up new data. Something that makes our Empire's forces look insignificant. We thought our quantum technology would protect us, but after seeing how easily you adapted and countered it, you're afraid this new threat will do the same. Sarah finished. We offer to share all our technological knowledge freely, Vexthor stated. In return, we ask for humanity's help in preparing for what comes next. Not as conquered subjects, but as equals. Sarah studied the alien commander carefully. And if we refuse, then we withdraw from Earth space entirely. We cannot afford to waste resources fighting a species that grows stronger with every defeat, not with what approaches. Vexthor's scales shifted color slightly. But I hope you accept. My species has forgotten how to innovate, how to think beyond our established patterns. We need humanity's creativity, your ability to see possibilities where we see only obstacles. Sarah shared a look with Maya, who nodded slightly. I'll transmit your offer to Earth's government. But first, I want to know everything about this approaching threat. Of course, Vexthor agreed readily. Though I must warn you, the data we have is disturbing. Good. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Humanity does its best work when faced with disturbing problems. We've had plenty of practice lately. As the Phoenix's crew began analyzing the new data, Sarah reflected on the irony of the situation. The Nexus Empire had come to conquer Earth, believing their superior technology made victory inevitable. Instead, they had discovered that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their ships or their quantum drives. It was their limitless capacity to adapt, to innovate, and to turn adversity into advantage. The next threat approaching from the depths of space would learn the same lesson. Underestimate humanity at your peril, because humans don't just fight back. They evolve, they improve, and they emerge stronger from every challenge. As if to emphasize the point, the Phoenix's quantum fold drive hummed softly, its human-modified systems now more advanced than anything the Nexus Empire had ever created. Humanity's next great adventure was about to begin. And this time, they wouldn't be facing it alone.